2 o'clock on the spot. Welcome everybody. Hope you're all doing very well. Hope everybody's got coffee. Oh, this pillow is uncomfy. There we go. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope it's been a very good week for everyone. I think we all have these crazy, challenging weeks that we have. So, yeah. Let me just make sure that I can get onto the discussion so I can actually partake in the discussion. There we go. Perfect. There we go. Hello. Perfect. So I'm going to leave that there. And yeah, I think quite an important subject for today. How to choose the right solar system for your home. I think it's so important these days that we choose the right system. It's not that easy to choose the right system. Coffee is really good. So I think, from that perspective, I think it's very important to make sure that we choose the right system. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me all right. So if you can, just give me a thumbs up in the discussion. But yeah, otherwise, I think it's I think we need to kind of really truly understand when choosing a solar system for your home. The thought process is usually kind of one of three things. You kind of want to go, I need energy independence, or I want to save money, or last is all, I'm so hot full of this company that I can't necessarily name on here, but we all know who that is. So that's kind of usually the thought pattern with everybody in this process. And that's kind of that's a departure point for everybody wanting to have a solar system. So the first point usually in that process is to say, okay, right, number one, what is the reasoning for choosing a solar system, or wanting to go that route is very important. And usually that kind of is two things. People kind of go I want to save money, or I want to have energy independence, or off-grid, as some other people like to call it. And obviously the last one, but obviously kind of delving into the I want to save money discussion. So over the last 5 odd years that the team has been doing residential installations, it's become very apparent that as much as people always kind of say we want to save money, etc., that supplementary solar installation, and what that supplementary means is effectively just you get an inverter and you get solar panels on your roof, and effectively during the daytime when the sun is shining, you use the energy directly generated and directly in your home. So that energy that's generated is used directly. That's the positive. So you immediately reduce your electricity bill. But now the negative side to that is obviously if the grid is off, the system is not going to work. So that's the downside of that process. And if anybody out there is going to ask, but what about these big solar plants out in the Karoo, etc.? Same thing applies. And obviously those guys have got very big calculators, and they calculate in what happens if those systems go down, so their margins and everything else that goes with it is calculated very differently. Then there's the other school of thought that is I want to go off-grid, or we like to call it, we want energy independence. We want to be able to function like we should function as a home and just continue living life. That's what we want. So from an energy independence perspective, obviously that comes a bit of a different kettle of fish, and that is obviously I want to go that route, and usually people choose to go, but I'll start small and then I'll grow into it, because not everybody has the capital as always to throw around, which is where NuHome comes in. That is our key offering to people, is we offer energy independence at a price point that works for everybody. So coming back to that, how do I choose a solar system? So we very briefly touched on it, and I got to give a bit of a shout out to Jan Harm. Jan Harm reached out and he was asking about the SMAPI, and we very recently just got our SMAPI pricing. So I'll talk about that in a second. But as we spoke about in last week's session, the best way to understand which system is best for you is to understand your usage in your home. Now, the one thing that makes NuHome very different to a lot of other clients is the fact that we don't just kind of like say, hey, we sell solar, off we go. We take your hand and we take you on a bit of a journey. Now, from that perspective, that sustainability journey means understanding how much energy you use and helping to reduce that over time. And that's why we always suggest to our clients, install a SMAPI. And just for everybody's probably going to ask, how much is a SMAPI? The SMAPI is 2,950 Rand, excluding VAT. And that is installed. So it's an installed price. So, but I'll publish that in a link in the channel here so everybody can kind of just have a look at that. There'll also be some postings on social media, etc. So you can also understand that. But that basically gives you, the homeowner, insight into exactly how much energy is being used at what point in time. And as we said last week, that is one of the key things to understand. We are not just going to say, oh, you need a 5 kilowatt system and we're going to plug a small hole, or, you can go in your house and you can use everything, but please, don't use the fridge and don't use the geyser and don't use this and don't, that is not convenience. And what most of the clients want when they're going through this process of choosing a solar system is people want convenience. They want to understand that when they put a solar system in their home, that they can continue life as it is without even kind of like thinking about it. And that's kind of a very important kind of mind shift to make. But with that mind shift comes the awareness of understanding how much energy is being used. And naturally, the process will happen over time where we will start implementing more sustainable aspects. And what I mean by that is, and we very briefly touched on it last week, we'll start taking out the old lamps in our house. We will start putting in the LED lamps. We will look at, as we spoke of last week, of installing our SolarWorks system that helps reduce the reliance of the energy usage of the geyser, because that is an enormous monster sitting on your roof, or inside your roof rather, and it's just eating energy at every given moment, and it's always at the most inconvenient times. So from that perspective, choosing the system is not the easiest thing to do. So having the right device or solution in your home to give you that information in order to make good decisions on, that's a good start. Now, something that is always very interesting for us is that if clients that choose to go the SMAPI route and install a system like that, is all of a sudden there is a change in the understanding of their day-to-day usage of energy, which gives them insight. And you see a big behavior change. So just by understanding how much energy you use and when you use it, that is probably the key differentiator or the key aspect to make a good decision on selecting a solar system for your home. So delving into the details of it, as everybody is well aware, NuHome offers a range of NuHome 10 and a NuHome 20, and a 15 and a 30 and a 45 and a 60 and a 70. So that number that is next to the NuHome, that is a general indication of how much kilowatt hours per day you would use. That system would be applicable to you. So if you use 25 kilowatt hours a day, or 20 kilowatt hours a day, or 30 or 45, that would probably be the system that's correct for you. So if you choose a NuHome 45, that'll be the system for you, because you're using 45 kilowatt hours a day. But a lot of people don't quite understand how to bring that into context with, but what goes on in my home? Now, also, unlike a lot of solar companies out there and people that offer solar solutions, we don't like to speculate about these things. What we'd like to do is we like to put the facts on the table and deal with the facts, because that's quite important. Understanding and making decisions based on scientific information is undoubtedly the way to go forward. So, to kind of put it into perspective, and I've just jotted down some notes here to kind of like just speak about those. So if we say I live in a home and I utilize about 2,500 rands worth of electricity. So, and obviously we need to keep in mind, obviously, that if I live in Pretoria or Johannesburg or Cape Town or PE, East London or Bloemfontein, etc., or in Polokwane, different rates, different areas attract different rates. Municipalities have different rates. There's block tariffs and everything else. So the 2,500 is just a very nice, robust number that we can utilize. But let's say, for argument's sake, we're using Johannesburg. So 2,500 rand. I mean, it'll get you about 1,200 to 250 units, which is kilowatt hours. Now that equates to about somewhere between, and my mathematics is a little bit horrible, but it probably comes out to about between 40 and 45 kilowatt hours a day average. And obviously that kind of like, that makes you fall straight into the NuHome 45 box. Okay. It might be ever so slightly oversized, but it's definitely not a negative. It's definitely a positive in this case. But to bring that into context, if you spend about that much money, that is probably what you want to go for. So, and to kind of like say, and we're going to break it down a little bit. So if you kind of have that kind of money and you're spending a NuHome 45 falls in your box, you'll have energy independence. Obviously, your usage in your home will fluctuate up and down. Wintertime, we know that there is an astronomical increase in it. And when I say astronomical, wintertime energy increases is seen across the board, anything from 20 to literally double, triple the amount of energy is used, because it is all about when we're using the energy, and we are stepping into those block tariffs. So a couple of days ago, you would have read in the news about block tariffs and everything else, and lots of hoo-ha from that company that we shall not mention. But it's to understand that the more power you use, the more expensive it is. So if you go through those block tariffs, and in wintertime specifically, you use more power in certain aspects of the day. Evening is getting cold, heaters get switched on, the geysers working overtime. And so obviously that's kind of like that during that period that now we're using a lot more energy, so the increase is quite a lot. So from that perspective, what NuHome is offering clients is we say, listen here, for those 2 extreme months, designing a solar system for that's possible. It's totally possible. But that system will not work at optimal, let's call it capacity, if we size it for that time of the year. So we're saying it's balance. In wintertime, rather know that you can run your home throughout the day on safe green energy. And if there's a shortfall, you can draw that from the grid. Simple as that. I mean, at least you know that your home is always catered for. And I think that's the most important aspect. If we look at what we want to achieve here, and we said that 2,500 rand, kind of like a month, NuHome 45, that's kind of like a key process to go through. So if that's the kind of system to choose. But if we go down the ranks and kind of like making a decision on which solar system to choose, and we go back to that original question, I think it's important to understand, number one is, how much energy do I use? And that should be everybody's departure point. If you want to choose a solar system, number one and first thing you need to do is understand how much energy your house is consuming. Okay? So if you understand how much it's consuming, then you will understand exactly which system will work for you. And nobody can pull the wool over your eyes. And as we said last week when we cut through all the bullshit, there's a lot out there where people are kind of just trying to, they're going just gunning for the sale. That's all they want, just want to make the sale. And that's the part where everybody misses it. So it's important to remember, if you want to, and choosing a solar system for your home, start with by understanding how much electricity you are using in your home and let that lead you. Our suggestions I mentioned is start with a SMAPI, and punt that into your home, put it in, and immediately you understand how much you use and when you use it. So that'll give us and you a good indication of how big of a battery you would use. And that makes a world of difference. So from that perspective, that's definitely the route to go. Understand. But it's also very important to kind of like, and not everybody is like, I think, as we mentioned, some people want to just save money. But we found that is a very little segment of the market that just wants to save money. I mean, we all think we want to save money, but, it ends up usually be a situation of it's about convenience in my home. I know that my home is always on. And I think, that's part of the important things that we're trying to drive. So the saving money kind of situation is always just, it's everybody starts off down there, and the moment that load shedding hits you and you're kind of sitting in the dark, you kind of go, maybe I should add something to it. And at that point you realize that, oh, hang on a second, I got sold a supplementary system. And you can't just, it's not a hybrid inverter. There comes the problem. So long story short, when looking at it, step one, understand. Understand that what you're probably going to end up at the end of the day is convenience, and to make sure that you always have power, that your home is always on. And the best way to do that is understand how much energy is consumed in your home. So the first step in choosing a solar system for your home, understand how much power you use. Because if you understand, you can have a rough idea of what will work and what won't work. I think we went through the discussion yesterday of talking about various different products, etc. Last week, and we're not going to go through that process again. But I think just to very slightly touch over it is to say, remember, if it's too good to be true, if it's too cheap, it's probably too cheap, it's probably rubbish. Quality matters when it comes to these kind of products. And I think more importantly, once you've kind of like got that, understand the amount of power you use, understand that it's not going to be a cheap and cheerful exercise, then you can make a good decision. I'm going to peek quickly on my phone here because I want to pick up a document that was sent to me earlier today, just to give you guys a good idea of, and we spoke about that NuHome 45, but we do constantly get asked the question, but hey, Sean, ballpark, what is a capex purchase of a NuHome 45 for argument's sake? There is going to be some publishing going out in the next couple of days, but to give everybody a very rough idea, let me just have a look here. A very rough idea is you're looking for a NuHome 45, you're probably going to play somewhere in the region of about between, I would say, looking at the numbers that they gave me here, ballpark about 370 to 385, 395, depending on who the contractor is out there that's going to do the work for you. But that's ballpark what a NuHome 45 is going to cost you. But keep an eye out on our social media channels. If anybody kind of has ever wondered about it, for Facebook, we at NuHome Africa, and if you're on Instagram, we are at NuHome SA, and also on Twitter, you can follow us on there. But I think the long and short of it, you're looking at about 380, 385, somewhere around there. That's kind of like the market norm for people out there. So that kind of puts a NuHome 45 into perspective. And if you have to pay the NuHome 45, you'll be paying 3,590 Rand, including that. But also very important to remember that with that price, the NuHome offering includes maintenance, and most importantly, the insurance. So if we go deduct those two things off the price, this offering is exceptionally competitive. The price point for energy independence for your home. So this is not to save you money. This is not to bridge load shedding. This is to make sure that if you spend that kind, you are effectively independent. Bar obviously those winter moments when you have extreme use, but effectively you are off grid to a large extent. or as we like to call it, energy independent. And I think that is ultimately the goal, is to live a convenient, comfortable life where when something like load shedding hits you, it's not an inconvenience. We're all working from home. I am, everybody is out there. And you and I know what an absolute pain it is when this little thing, all of a sudden, it's just breaking up, dropping down, it's not connecting. All of a sudden, the data at home is not working. And why is that happening? Because of load shedding. Because cell phone towers are going down. Yes, there's backup, but there's delays before those things kick in, etc. And we lose signal, we get cut off, etc. So it's an inconvenience to us. And NuHome is that offering where you can change. You can change from coal power to green energy. You can choose a 10-year agreement, you can choose a 15-year agreement. And you can very simply select the system by understanding how much energy you use over a month, breaking that down into how much do I use per day, and then selecting the most appropriate system that matches that. Yes, we know there's a couple of gaps, and we're working on it, filling all those little gaps in between. But we have the NuHome 10 available. So if you use 10 kilowatt hours a day, that is your range. We have the NuHome 15 available. We have the NuHome 20 available. We have the NuHome 30 available. We have the NuHome 45 available. And we have the NuHome 60 and 70. So those are the ones that we have available now. And it's, if you, for argument's sake, use let's say you use 12 kilowatt hours, you can either choose something a little bit smaller or you can choose something a little bit bigger. Then the nice thing that if you choose something a little bit bigger, it literally just means that you'll have some spare capacity in your battery. Battery may be a little bit bigger. You may be able to produce a little bit more power. And simply put, is that you'll be able to kind of like, when there's cloud cover or it's bad weather, etc., you don't have to worry too much. And I think that's a benefit of going a little bit bigger. So also on the website, you'll find quite a nice explanation of if you choose to oversize your system, what's the impact of that? If you choose to have an undersized system, what's the impact of that? We've had a couple of clients inquire and say, hey, can I have this as a load shedding solution? And yes, definitely you can. I mean, just to give you an idea, if you choose a NuHome 10, it's 1,270 Rand, including that. And if you literally for that price, you can run your TV, LEDs, fridges, everything through the night. What a convenience is that? You don't have to worry about it. It's, yes, you might not have a geyser, etc., but if you want a backup system, you can choose something like that. It's big enough, it's small enough to handle those aspects. And I think that's the benefit of these kind of systems. So once again, if we start delving into how to choose a solar system, we go back to that question. First thing we need to know, how much power do I use? Second thing, am I making the right, do I understand how much power I use and when do I use it? If I know that, then I can choose the best system from a NuHome perspective. Is it a NuHome 10? Is it a NuHome 45? Maybe it's a NuHome 30, maybe a 60, etc. So from that perspective, select the system and easy as that. And basically from there, you go onto the website, you fill in the onboarding process and fill in the forms, receive the information. We send you a draft agreement to have a look at. And once you receive your draft agreement, we'll make an appointment with you. We'll come out, we'll do the site visit. Once the site visit is over, we'll sign, and you're happy and we happy. If everybody's happy, we sign the agreement and off we go. And shortly after, the installation will commence. So from that perspective, it is really, really simple. And I think, yeah, I really do believe that NuHome is, I mean, we've been offering our solution now for just, well, no, still under a year. We're not a year old yet. And we've seen some phenomenal inquiries and growth and what we're trying to achieve in this country. And we truly believe that there is some very interesting things happening. So the one thing that you won't be hearing us saying is, and we're not yet talking about putting energy back into the grid and carbon credits and all of those kind of like really other amazing things. But I can tell you it is coming. There's lots of very, very interesting activations that will come with a NuHome offering. And we are very excited to share that with everybody. It is coming. And it's not far off. It's not something that's in the dur anakant, million miles away. It's close. And I think it's important for everybody to realize that we can all be part of the sharing economy. That sharing energy is something that is possible with NuHome. So why don't you join the journey and join the NuHome family, live a greener lifestyle, live a greener life, join the energy independence journey with us, and become more sustainable, live a little bit more sustainable. And yeah, I think that's a very big step. So yeah, and I think lastly, obviously, the one thing, number 3, earlier we had a number 3 here, that I am grateful clients of that. Yes, there's a place for you too. We offer products for you too. Yes, we can super oversize the system so you can go if you really wanted to. We never say you should. Stay connected. Be part of the sharing economy. But you can, if you really want to, and if you're insistent on it, yes, we can offer that too. So yeah, we look forward to speaking to everybody again next week, Wednesday. I can't just yet tell you who, but we've got a special guest coming through to have a chat to us. Keep an eye out. I'll announce it either tomorrow or tomorrow afternoon. Thank you for your time. It's always appreciated. I know how valuable it is. And I look forward to everybody joining us next week. Thank you very much for your time, everyone. And if there's any questions, always reach out to us and we chat soon. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.